Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party and my buddy Rhett. I got this nut. She was very excited about it. It's one of the last almonds we have. We got like mixed nuts, and I usually pick out the almonds because she can break them with her beak by herself. But now we got other kinds. So yesterday when I finished working on this stuff, I was like, basically we're trying to figure out we're trying to update the code so that it knows how to lay out new visualizations when we add them. And then it also knows how to redraw them when it's time to redraw. So, and basically, we had another system in place. The other system sort of collapsed because we added the delete functionality, and the other system was really leveraged on indexes of arrays instead of the IDs. Thank goodness I have the IDs there, um, but now I have to refactor so that it can deal with that. But um, so that it can deal with the IDs and all that. And then it's just kind of like, oh man, edge case after edge case after edge case when it comes to like layout with 2D and stuff like that. And I'm wondering, is this something that I could use a physics engine to do? Because physics engines generally know how to determine when two things are touching each other. Um, and you can give them like disparate shapes and all that. Because I do eventually want something that can do 3D, not just 2D. So 3D determine are these two things touching, um, sort of thing. But I would think anything that does 3D could also do 2D. Um, but and then I was thinking this morning, man, this is going to be a real like if there is a third-party API sort of thing that I can use to figure this stuff out for me. Um, that's probably going to take a while to integrate, which is kind of a bummer. But on the other side, I'll probably have to do a lot of interface upgrades and stuff like that, and that updates to accommodate stuff. And it's just like, well, then it would be kind of nice if to settle on a 3D engine if I can use one of those, or some other collision detection API. Um, it'd be nice to start getting familiar and with all those interfaces. So, anyways, let's see. So, project in Angular that has um, squares in a and squares with um, with height, left position, top position. Um, do you know of a library I can add that can determine if the squares are touching? Also, like to eventually add a 3D engine, physics a engine to my project, and so if I can use something like, I know Canon JS is one of the 3D engines out there. Let's see. You could eventually write it yourself even without a library. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Like, yeah, that is definitely. And then uh, collisions.js. All right, so I think, what is this one? REST-based physics engine. Interesting. I wonder if this, because it says it's in Rust, so I don't know. Wait. Okay, so is Rust-based. In Rust programming and then compile to WebAssembly. Okay, so that's cool. Like browsers or. And then I guess the thing is you want to look at like, okay, what's being, is this manipulation? Is Rapier JS like better than Canon JS, which I guess is the sort of default, or um, is this like some sort of, I don't know, marketing? So then I think what you do is you would go to npm.org, and then this is National Association. No, it's npm. npmjs.com. Okay, that is funny. I wonder how often people do that. And then we could type in this name. Because, technologies can just come and go. Um, Physics system, Canon.es, 60,000 downloads. I think this is probably the one that we care about. 15,000 weekly. So, it seems like it's very highly maintained. And then what's the other one? npm JS. Wonder why that didn't show up in my thing. All right, so search 2D, so 3D. So when we look over here, they do have some decent, like 4,000 isn't bad, but it's not, anywhere near as big as, let's see. And I think that's monthly downloads. Let's see, their biggest one was this guy. Yeah, he's got like 1,100 weekly downloads. Where's Canon? What is the most popular 3D JavaScript? Physics engine. Canon JS, okay. looks like, yeah, this guy is slightly steeper learning curve. Oh my lord, due to Rust WebAssembly internals. Yeah, I remember ammo now that I think about it. So it looks like Canon JS is probably the one I want to use. So yeah, I wonder. I think it makes sense to. So, but the only thing is, um, I don't want to have a commit where we're in a broken state, and that's exactly where we're at right now. So I guess I should see this through the way it is, and then um, revisit the idea of installing Canon JS to finish off to make the collision detection better, because it would be kind of nice just to say, okay, these are my 16 spots. Is anybody clear anywhere? And then just kind of take 200 by 200 to just check every spot, um, or check every object out there and see if any object is actually occupying that spot. That would be so much better than what I'm doing right now. Um, and that's what I would be able to do with a physics engine. But I guess now that I think about it, we do need to at least get this to the level it was before we make a decision like this. But I really do think it is probably the best time to do it right after we get this working. So right now, when we add to, we do, okay. See, normally I like to watch my last video first, because at the end of that video, I'll say what we're going to do next. And this time I just decided not to, which that's probably a mistake. All right, so I thought I had put some comments in here. Okay, so we're trying to figure out if the row is available, and if it is in fact available, okay, so construct get farthest left. Where's the code? I remember saying that I need to make this into its own. Getting some is important. Let's see. Yeah, this is the piece that I think I need to do right now. And we don't even have a really good way on screen to test that it's working. But basically, I want this this to be a function, and it should take a, okay, so what is this? Get row siblings. Get row siblings. And we want to return. This is exactly what we want to return. Okay, so we're going to get all of the rows. Visualizations, which is a array of st visualizations, and then we're going to return st visualizations for them. And then these are not called, what were they called over here? Let's see what's better named. Ooh, current row siblings. We called them current viz list. it's just going to return. And basically all this does is returns oh my god. Turn. So I need to send in the current row, which I believe is a number. And current viz, which is a. So basically all you do is send it in the row and the visualization, which I don't even know why we need. Oh, so we could exclude it so it doesn't get added as one of the siblings. And it looks like we're missing a paren. There we go. I love you too, Rhett. Alright, so that's what that does. That returns that list, and what we're hoping is that and it's just because we're going to need that when we go to draw everything out. We're going to need, if I remember correctly from yesterday. Doesn't it get siblings? Yeah, get row siblings. I wonder why that didn't show up. Okay. And we are sending it the current viz list, the current row, and the current viz. And this should get our siblings for a given row. So console.log. Okay. Const row siblings. So there, the first time there shouldn't be any, right? Because you know, it's basically an only child at that point. This bad boy out, and we'll add one of these. Add one. Yeah, and see now we constant row sibling should be the other one. Now the two of them are just sitting on top of each other, but so we did do that work. Okay, so this thing checks to see if the row is available, and I think it actually already does return the right thing, because available is set to true. It goes through, it checks to see start, end. So basically, if it can take the very farthest right one and add itself to the end, then that row is available. So right now we're not doing anything to deal with gaps. Sorry, everything is like, so basically we're not dealing, like if there was one here and then one here, it's going to push to the next one. It won't acknowledge that there's anything available in there. And I'm hoping that after the delete is added, we go and focus on getting Canon.js installed. And so then we can sort of get a more rich collision or uh, touching algorithm going. All right, get next available top. And then okay, so that's going to tell us if it's, and I believe let next and then current left. So now here we can check to see, okay, so we know our top, I guess that's a number. Yeah, so it's going to return like 0 for the very first time. And now we got to figure out what the left is. And we've already written most of the code. So right now I'm just going to make this get next available left and return that as a number. Yeah, I guess it'll need to know what this viz is. And then number. And for now, I'm just going to return 0, just to make sure everything's wired. Still wired, right? So the idea is that this will return the spot on the right that it should go to. Now, so nothing, I don't, just make sure nothing broke. That's all we're really looking for is, we don't have a filter on, yeah, so we don't see any red in there, so none of that worked. Now, we can say, I think what we need to do is, I think there's like get row siblings and get farthest list, which takes the row siblings. And then it'll tell me basically that I believe that'll be the next available left is the farthest left. So we're going to do this. We're going to get our row siblings up here. Get row siblings. And then I believe, yeah, it takes this viz, right? I just was literally just there and I don't remember. Okay. Wait, row siblings. Get row siblings. Go to definition. Oh, it's going to take the whole list, the row number, and the visualization. That'll actually make life a lot easier when unit testing comes. Okay. No, we got the visualizations right there. And then next available top, and then viz. And that should give him row siblings and then cost. I think we want the next available, or get farthest left. Let's see. And that is, oh, okay, we're too high up. I'm like, why are you doing that? Okay, so yeah, so this goes into, man, this is going to be a nightmare to unit test. And then I guess I need to pass it the visualizations and the row. So that's going to be just like get row siblings, right? Is that right? Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Because that is what I'm trying to get, is the row siblings. This, and then comma. Oh, wait. Oh, I already have that. Okay. Got a little bit confused there. Okay, so we have the current viz list. The current row. Current viz. Okay. So that's, we call that viz over here. I'm going to call this current row. I think maybe try to stay a little bit more consistent.
Oh boy. Go. Go. There you go. Out there. You want to go?
All right. So prerequisite to getting the next available left will be getting the row siblings. So that means I have to pass everything in here.
You ready? Ready?
So that becomes visualizations. And next available top.
Good boy.
Comma. Thank you, Rat. Thank you. So over here, we want to return. Next left is equal to this dot get farthest right, right? The one that's all the way to the farthest right. And I think you have to give it the row siblings. And our farthest right is, in fact, our next left. First thing that's made any sense to me in a while. Don't know if this is going to work. That was a lot of coding to do without any interim testing. Curious if we have any console log errors. Nope. Okay, so at least we're back to here. Okay, so the next line doesn't work. And it looks like it just freaks out. I don't know what's happening. Oh, it did end up adding one there. So that is that. that, we've got at least the first row working. So it looks like next top needs to be implemented. Let's see, it is 8:22, so let's go ahead and so we're kind of resetting at this point because we have a new mission. Um, See, I think our problem is in this get and next available top. It should figure out that, hey, this isn't going to work. I guess it would be kind of nice to have a console log right there. Next available top. Curious. We do. I don't know if we're gonna want those other console logs. I know we want this one. We probably don't want this one. Visualization service 223. Are we ready to get rid of this code? Probably. Nah, probably not. We probably still. But if this happens, we do want an alert. It's a very good chance that we'll put that into an infinite when we get here. Okay, is row available? So we're gonna be doing a lot in here, I'm sure, but we'll probably be better off with fresh console logs. Oops. Today we go into sprint planning, which has historically always been one of my tougher days, but I was actually truly looking forward to it today. It's always fun to hear what everybody else is up to. We do have our daily stand-ups, but a little bit more usually comes out in sprint planning. Okay, next available top is 0. So I don't know. Do animation service? Yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of those console logs.
What?
Yeah. No, I guess we need that one. Yeah, we'll leave those. Okay, so inspect. So basically, what we want to happen is that once we get to 4 of them, oops, wrong thing. Once we get to 4 of these things, like I don't think there is enough room in the next one to. Oh, I wonder if that's what's taking a while. Is that we're getting into that infinite loop? I bet you. Yep. I was wondering why it took a long time. It was because it was running through that while loop got stuck. So we would rather this be. What we want is this last one to be at 0 with a top of 200, so that it shows up down here. So, and we know it's in the visualization service, and we know we're getting caught in our while loop. I'm glad we didn't get rid of that. While. All right. Current row 0, found escape. Okay, so is row available? So it returns false, but then I guess we should have. I guess if we get here, yeah, we need to increment the current row so that it checks the next row. It just keeps checking the same row over and over and over again. Now, how good is my 30,000 foot understanding of what's happening right now? It's pretty bad. But we pulled this section of code out so that we can be highly focused on just how things should work in this unit of code, and that um, as when you're working in an enterprise, it is critical that you do that, because if you don't, um, the code just becomes impossible to understand. It just gets too massive. Um, so yeah, it seems like eventually we'll find a row in which like there's no siblings or something like that. And this is a whole brand new thing. The idea of going to a row where there's no siblings, like that didn't exist in our world prior to right now. So it's very likely things are going to break. Okay, so it didn't break, but for some reason it did give us a false positive. Let's add one more and see. Yeah. So get next available top. So what is the top that we returned? Okay, so these animation ones are in the way, unfortunately. So 142, and probably the other one's close. I mean, I feel like we're probably gonna eventually need that again, but maybe they were all 142. So next available top was 1. Oh, I made all these ST1. Okay, something is broken. 830. Okay, so back to visualization. Oh, okay, so the current row shouldn't be. One thing we know, the current row should not be um, incremented by 1. It should be incremented by the height of the viz. Dot. And this is only working because they're all the same height. As soon as they're not all the same height, this code isn't going to work. Or like that, we'll say plus viz height only works because they're all the same height. It's actually even the wrong viz to even be looking at. Because same height. Okay. And so those should all be 0, I think. Or they should all be 0, I believe. I believe they should all have an ST top of 0. Okay, so it added one. Okay. Okay, so basically, I think this sent the wrong thing. It found it even though there was absolutely nothing in the list. So let's see what is row available does. Go to definition. Okay, so by default it's true. Then it's going to go through each one and it would only turn false, so it should have been true. Okay. Oop, escape, escape, escape. Colon plus found. Now, it should, the way this code is written, I believe it should find it. The very first thing it should do is find it so that so that the current, ooh, found is row. Okay, we only want to increase the row if, okay, I see what we're saying. We only want to increase this row if it was not found. The first time it should find it and we should break out. We shouldn't be adding 200 to it. But if we didn't find it, then we should add 200 and try the next row. Whew. There we go. Now we expect a found to be false and then go to true. Oh yeah. And that's all we can do. That's all, folks. All right, so at least we're back to here again. I do not know if what is going to work, what is not going to work. And I don't even know if we fixed our initial issue, which was like, what happens if you add 2, 3, and then you come over here, come back. Is it still right? Oop, wrong one. Okay, that's still right. We delete the very first one. Now what I would expect to see is the second and third one still in place. Okay, so they're still in place. Now when we go to add a third one, it should end up over here. And it did. So I feel like we might actually be able to, I don't know what happens when you resize. Let's see. Okay, so resizing is not redrawing. So because that is how it used to work. And this is one of those funny times where I'm glad we have the end-to-end testing, because this would be like, how did it used to work? But we have the end-to-end testing that will ensure. But basically, this thing should be redrawing at this point. And it's not. And who knows why. We've really changed the way a lot of things work. But I do think we are at a reset mode, and that is the next thing to try to figure out is, okay, how are we supposed to redraw this whenever? So this is good. I think we can. Now I think we should leave the while loop break in here for a little bit longer. I do not want that to get checked in though. It'll be funny if it gets checked in, because it'll be like, how many times did I say I didn't want it to be checked in? Control F. Inspect. Console. I will say though that it is, I think there's just no question in my mind I would be way more stressed out about trying to get all the code working the way it was. Like now that we've made this sort of move forward and added a whole new concept, things are breaking, which is absolutely to be expected. But then, like, how do we ever get back to our original state? Well, it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be easy to determine if we didn't, because we have all those end-to-end tests that we created. So I'm really happy about that. I am well. I get, I don't know. I guess the last back before, in the good old days when they were, and I don't know if it was really good for us developers, but in the days when the corporations were just dumping unlimited amounts of money on their software development efforts, there just wasn't. I mean, everybody was trying to do end-to-end testing. They were all trying it, and it just was not working out. Um, I think one of the biggest problems in most end-to-end efforts that I've ever seen is that you get a lot of, like, it's hard to if you need to log in, if you need to get some kind of um, credentials and all that, that can be really tricky. I feel like the fact that it doesn't work at all is probably a good thing. It's probably means that, hey, I hopefully that means I just have to add a couple lines of code. But once we get that working, resizing, I think that's everything. And then we can do, get unit tests working, get end to end testing working, and then I think it makes a lot of sense to um, get the physics engine installed. Which I really honestly would have been like, if I'd have been doing milestones, I might have had this install the physics engine at like the 2 year mark of this application, and now like we moving it all the way up to the 6 month mark. And I was like, yeah, because we can leverage the physics engine to determine if these things are touching, and then we can actually just say, hey, I have a 200 by 200 thing. Uh, it, if I put it here, will it be touching? Or maybe it wouldn't even surprise me if these physics engines can tell you where a space is available. Because it'd be kind of cool if it just threw itself in. Although, if I'm being completely honest, I bet you once this is really working, we're going to be like, you know what? All new ones should just go to the upper left. Um, but I noticed that in a lot of drawing projects. But it is a little earlier. It is 8:40, but I just am out of gas. I'm glad today is a review kind of day a day that we go through different work and flesh it out and decide, what can and can't be done. Because, man, I'm just not in a coding mood right now. Anyways, everybody, happy coding. Bye.